You're listening to Infinite TBR, the podcast where we try not to buy more books. I'm Smack.
And I'm Gabi. Spoiler alert! We're going to avoid major spoilers, and when we can, warn when we're going to discuss a particular book in detail so you can avoid that part of the episode. You can also check the show notes for time-stamped flags identifying potential spoilers. Last episode, I went on a truly insane tangent.
Literally the longest tangent we have managed in years.
I basically sat here and recounted what I could remember of the synopses of the first 3 of 4 Green Creek books by TJ Klune. And then it turns out that we talked enough about werewolves and publishing and Green Creek specifically to go ahead and split things into two bonus episodes. Okay. One of which is going to be my tangent from last time. Our regular listeners may notice that the first part of this bonus episode will be some repeated content from what showed up in our previous episode, just so that all of the Green Creek stuff is here. So if some of this sounds familiar, that's probably why. I will say this whole episode is pretty much all Green Creek spoilers, so if you care, just skip this whole bonus episode.
Fully, just everything was spoilery.
From start to finish.
I read Wolf Song.
Right.
And
by TJ Klune.
Mm-hmm. And
it's one of his older books.
Yes. So I think self-published.
Yes.
Just, it's gay werewolves. Basically. That's it. That's what the book. And like a lot of tragedy.
Yeah.
Tragedy and gay werewolves.
So much tragedy.
A lot of people see it as like comfort read, and I'm not sure I would call it comforting.
I could see it.
In some ways, yes.
I didn't find it comforting.
Like the tragedy like really offsets the adorableness, so you kind of end up emotionally neutral.
There's this like hurt comfort thing that comes in at
Yeah.
the end, which I think is what would
hurt
appeal to, I don't know, it would definitely have appealed to my 10-year younger self.
Right.
Would have lost my shit over the hurt comfort, but
it's candy to my brain right now, so like
That's
after I read
fair.
the first one, I was like, okay, and bought the other 3. So now I'm invested, literally.
literally.
I'm actually reading the 4th one now. I will say...
Is this the last one?
This is the last one.
Oh, man.
I know.
You're almost done.
And I had to tell myself today to brace myself for someone major dying.
Yeah, that tracks.
And I don't know who... And I tried to read some reviews to get a sense of whether I should be braced for someone.
Oh.
And I couldn't tell.
Do you want me to read reviews? Because I don't have to worry about spoilers.
No.
Okay.
I mean, I already know. Like, I'm gonna brace for it, and then worst case, no one does, and I'll be happy, and...
Okay. Good luck.
Yay! So the second one put TJ Klune in timeout for me because it was too much angst. Oh my god. Like, it's from Gordo's point of view, and he's such an angry little man. and so my actual thing was, like, I don't mind that he's an angry boy. He deserves to be an angry boy.
Mm-hmm.
The problem was... he is angry years after the fact. And the reason he is still angry is because everyone sucks in the Bennett family about properly apologizing for their mistakes. And they get better. I think they've gotten better about that in like the 3rd and the 4th book, except they're still making stupid decisions.
Mm-hmm.
But, because every book needs angst, apparently. But... so that was all about crap that went done before the first book even happened.
That went done before the first book?
Huh?
That went done before the first
That went down.
Oh, I thought you said went done.
I may have. I'll find out when I listen to this episode again. Anyway, it's all stuff that went down before the first book. And he was basically abandoned by the Bennett family for various reasons. Their excuse is that they were protecting him because his father went and murdered a bunch of people.
So they abandoned him?
Basically.
That's shitty...
Their excuse was that the wolf community was too nervous about living stones. And he's like 12.
Gordo?
Yeah, that's his last name. So
is it Gordon or Gordo?
Gordo.
Gordo. Okay.
So their excuse was the wolves are too nervous about witches right now because your father just murdered a whole town. Because I was right. I was really nervous about this. I'm going into spoilers fully, by the way, at this point. Well,
Spoilers!
is it spoilers? It's like the beginning of the second book, and it's stuff that happened in the past. I'm not sure it counts as spoilers. Okay,
no.
not spoilers yet.
Not spoilers.
But the beginning of the first book, we go into Gordo's backstory with his psycho murderous father, who you know was a psycho murderer from the first book,
Yeah,
but you haven't met him yet. And I was worried because the way it starts in the first book, they make it sound like his mom has a mental illness.
Oh no.
And then she goes off and murders his squeeze.
No.
And I was like,
No.
But it turns out he was screwing with her memory.
Oh.
So he was messing with her head.
The dad?
Mm-hmm.
The murder dad.
Yep, murder dad.
Okay.
And that's why she got messed up enough that,
to go kill
like,
somebody.
yes.
Okay.
Which made me feel a lot... So I thought maybe something like that was going on, because the way she was behaving seemed like memory sketch. And I was like, either this is very bad mental illness rep, or he's a really bad dude, and he's a really bad dude from day one.
Okay.
Because I thought this was, like, the inciting, like, what turned him into a villain, but I think he was just horrible and shady the whole time.
Okay.
And
I would much rather that be true than...
Yep, same. I was like, okay.
Oh, God.
That really solved that problem for me. So then his pack leaves him behind. He's 12.
Gordo's pack.
Yes, Gordo's
He's
pack.
not a werewolf, though.
No, he's a witch.
Okay.
And then wolves need...
Like, they need a
like,
witch in their pack or something
for reasons.
hand-wavium
Yep.
reasons? Okay.
So he's 12.
Mm-hmm.
His mom just murdered
Somebody.
his dad's squeeze.
Okay.
In response, his dad just murdered his mom and the whole town she was in.
Oh, okay.
So
That's, didn't escalate that at
Right.
all.
And then, so they stripped his dad of his magic, theoretically, and then dumped him in prison.
Not very well.
So he could never hurt anyone again.
Oh my god.
Definitely had no consequences for the rest of the 4 books.
Jesus Christ.
And then they leave him behind to go to Maine, because they're like the head wolves
Right.
of the country
North
or world
America
or whatever.
Yeah.
So they leave him behind. He's 12 years old, and they basically say,
Peace.
sorry, bye. And at this point, I think he knows that Mark is his mate. This is the brother of the... And I guess I should throw in that, like, hunters show up and, like, murder most of the pack,
Oh.
too.
Okay.
So they're dealing with the loss of most of their family,
Right.
including Gordo.
Mm-hmm.
So Gordo, like, lost most of the pack, and then his family went off the deep end, and then his pack
Abandoned
left him in Green Creek, this small little town in Oregon, to go to Maine.
I don't think I'd even be rooting for a happy ending. I just want him to just be with people who don't shit all over him.
Yep. That's so he was...
And, like, I'm assuming a happy ending, quote unquote, in these books includes him and his werewolf
Of course.
boyfriend. Or
That's
whatever.
how every book ends.
Okay. I read the first one, but, like...
Yes. That's like, each one is a different Bennett
Okay.
brother, basically.
Wolf. Got
Yeah.
it. Okay.
And they're usually from the point of view of their OTP.
Okay.
Except for the last one, weirdly. But that has reasons. Anyway.
Okay.
My continuing beef with Raven's Song. And then they swear that they'll be back. No time.
Oh my god.
No time frame. They're horrible at keeping in contact. Elizabeth is like, I'll call you every day. Does she? Unclear. I think not. I think that
If she did, he would have no reason to be anywhere near as angry.
Well, that's the thing. So it's
Also,
unclear
really
whether she followed through
Mm-hmm.
or whether she did and he just didn't answer because he was busy being justifiably pissed.
Right, because he's
Which is
freaking
possible.
12.
And, like, Mark tries to come as often as he can, but Mark is stuck basically doing whatever the pack, because he's a beta,
Okay.
and then Thomas is the alpha. They're brothers. He's pretty much stuck doing whatever Thomas tells him to do for the family. And then the only reason they come back to Green Creek
How
in
old
the
is
end,
Mark when they leave?
they're
like-
about the same age, I think.
Okay.
Maybe he might be a little bit older, like 3 years older.
Okay.
Because I think Gordo as a kid is trying to, like, get him to move the relationship along. And Mark is like, no.
You're a
Not until you're
child.
older. And then, of course, leaves before
Jesus Christ.
they can get anywhere with it.
I don't think I could handle all the angst in
Oh my
these
God,
books.
it was
The first
so
one
bad.
was enough.
And then, so now we might be getting to spoilers from the first book, at least, Wolf Song. they come back only because Joe got kidnapped and tortured.
And tortured for 8 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Comes back and can't...
As like a 9-year-old or something.
Oh yeah, he's baby.
He's a big baby.
And can't speak. And basically they're like, well...
Got nothing else to do.
A, our family needs to heal. And B, maybe Gordo, the witch, can do something to help Joe.
Jesus Christ.
And that's like the only reason they come back.
That's fucked up.
So Gordo continues to be pissed.
And how old is Gordo when they come back?
This is like he's...
It's like 20 something?
Yeah, mid-20s, elder 20s. So they just come back. Somewhere in there, like, Mark shows up and he basically says, I want nothing more to do with you guys, and breaks. It's unclear, like, where the tethers get broken. There's a whole thing with tethers and whatever.
Tethers, right? Okay.
And I think he cuts off his own tether, basically, to the pack, and all his bonds with the pack. And Mark is like, no, don't do this. Why are you doing this? It's so sad, and I'm so sad. I can't, like, I'm in a bad position, too. And Gordo's like, well, frickin', I'm pissed and sad, and, like, none of you are frickin', you guys talk a lot of...
The werewolves are so shit in this.
I know! So, and I read, like, some reviews were like, Gordo was just so angry the whole book. And I was like, yes, he is. And that's frustrating. Because now they're all back. And then, like, Thomas gets murdered in the first one, right?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Before... Yeah, that's where the spoilers. So Gordo and him never have it out.
Gordo and Thomas.
Yes.
And
they're
dies
the main...
before they can have it out.
And they're, like, best friends in the Raven song. I know. So that was the thing that upset me the most. Is they never have a chance to have their... emotional resolution, except Thomas also kind of has this Mufasa thing going on.
Yeah.
So they kind of actually do.
Oh, do they?
But not properly.
Right.
It's more of I'm Mufasa now, and now we can all move on because I'm dead, and there's only so much you can still be mad at me because I'm dead. Kind of. They don't. I don't think they say any of that, but that's how I interpreted that scene in my head. So he spends the whole book pissed and taking it all out of Mark because, and kind of Elizabeth because they're the only ones left to be mad at.
Right.
But none of them ever apologize.
That's fucked up.
And they all just keep basically telling him, you need to find a way to let go of your anger because it's not fair to Mark.
Yeah, okay.
And I'm like, screw all of you. You be pissed as long as you want, my kid, anyway.
Jesus.
So I was like, so the whole book he's mad, and I get it, and then some of the ways every interaction between him and Mark is Mark being sad. Yeah. Mark being really sad. And he probably doesn't deserve to be the focus of that anger, but he never got a chance to have it out with Thomas. So freaking anyway, so Ravensong killed me. TJ Klune got put in timeout.
He didn't get put in timeout that long, though, right? This is
a month.
Okay.
This was beginning of December, I think. And I had to get through my December madness. And then... Oh, and library books. I had a stack of library books.
Oh.
And then just started up the third one. What's the third one?
Cockroach Song.
Heart Song. Not quite in cute. But a solid guess.
I couldn't actually think of any other animal. There's a fox poster in this room, and I couldn't think of any other animal.
So I forgot for a second that you would say that because there's a wolf song. There's a fox right there. There's a wolf song and a raven song. And then it goes to heart song and brother song.
What?
So they're not even animals. But also there was a short called love song somewhere in there. And then another short somewhere called feral song. Anyway, the only consistent thing is this song. So...
I took a guess.
Again, it was... I can't even imagine how that would even go on. But now I really want it to somehow. Anyway, Heart Song is from Robbie's point of view.
Who's Robbie?
Robbie is... So, one of the big betrayals that happens in the first book is Osmond, who is the right-hand man of Michelle Hughes, who's the new alpha of all, while Thomas, his family... Yes. While Thomas and his family go deal with...
Thomas gives up, the king alpha position,
yes.
right?
Supposedly temporarily. So Michelle's
but then he
interim,
dies.
and then he dies. And Joe's supposed to take over.
So Michelle's the main Alpha.
Yes.
The alfalfa.
The interim alpha.
And then Thomas's son, Joe,
is supposed to take over.
But he doesn't.
We're
already into spoiler territory.
Yes. So in the first book, the guy who tortured Joe comes back and they have to deal with him.
Right.
While they're busy, and Michelle's alpha-ing out this whole time. And I think by the end of the first one, you get, like, some exposure to her, and you think, okay, like, she's got this, she's competent alpha, she's good carrying them for now. In the second book, it becomes increasingly apparent that Michelle likes having the power.
Oh my god.
And wants to hold on to the power, and is making some interesting decisions.
Questionable choices.
To continue to hold on to that power, and one of the choices she makes is, I think they've now established, as of the third one, that she's the one who let Livingstone out.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Gordo's dad.
Mm-hmm.
The murderous
Robert.
witch. Okay, so...
Anyway, but before...
I have sort of a problem with how few women are in these books.
That got better.
Did it?
It got much better.
In the first one, there are the two mothers, one of which dies horrifically.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's Michelle, who later turns out to be shit.
Well, she was kind of a...
power-hungry bitch.
Well...
Literally. Werewolf.
But I thought she could have been more interesting, but I thought she was... For what these books are, she was a pretty interesting character. She kind of got swamped out by Robert because he's a full psycho.
Right.
But
murder dad.
At the end, you're not quite sure how much agency... so it's on that line. Like, either she's very manipulative and she's kind of playing both sides to see where it lands. But I don't think he could have... manipulate her from whatever prison he was in. It's unclear how powerful this dude is. I think that she really did feel like she deserved to be in charge and could do a good job, and then made a bad decision that... Anyway.
Okay.
They could have done more with her. At least there was an alpha. And then there's Elizabeth, who didn't have a lot of substance in the first book.
She really didn't.
That hasn't gotten a whole lot better, but she is, like... Love Song was from her point of view, that little short.
Mm-hmm.
I liked hearing from her point of view, because that helped give her any character depth. There's Jessie, who's kind of fun.
Oh, right, the girlfriend, the ex-girlfriend.
By the halfway point of the first book, I thought they'd just ditch her, but she's there. She's part of the pack. She beats people up with her stick. She's great. And then in the third one, she starts dating this Omega wolf.
Omega means they have no pack, right?
It's a little bit no pack, and they're going feral, basically. Okay. And they go mad. And then die.
Pleasant.
But that becomes complicated because of stuff that happens in the second book. Mm-hmm. Livingstone basically creates this virus that infects wolves and turns them Omegas, whether they have packs or not.
Oh. That's super evil.
Mm-hmm. And they have to deal with that whole situation. So basically, Michelle's been in charge this whole time because they're so busy dealing with all of this crap and people dying left and right.
Right.
And in the second book, Michelle's like, oh, we got to contain this virus, which means we basically have to destroy your whole town. She gives them an ultimatum. She's like, because Carter and Mark get infected.
Okay.
But they figure out a way around it, and they're fine. They're not going feral. They got the purple eyes thing going on, but it's fine. They're sane, and they're going to stay sane.
Okay.
The pack bonds aren't quite right, but they're not going to go insane. And they figured out how to do it for everyone else.
Okay.
So they don't have to put down Omega Wolves anymore. But Michelle's like, no, that's too dangerous. Like, if you're wrong and they get out and hurt someone, that's on you. And since I'm the alpha of all, that's on me. So I have no choice but to come take care of this problem myself. And by which she meant send people to go take care of my dirty work. And unfortunately that meant she got in cahoots with the hunters who killed the original Bennett pack. And sent her and her psycho... She's like weirdly religious, crazy town.
Michelle is?
No. The hunter.
Okay.
Elijah. So she is nutso, brings her posse of hunters to come kill all the wolves. And they have it out at the end of the second book. And then one of the things she has in tow is this feral timber wolf who's stuck as a wolf. Mm-hmm.
feral werewolf, timberwolf?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I assume.
Who they break out, and
Mhm.
then he becomes attached to Carter,
Mm-hmm.
and
Is that the third book?
that's gonna be, it's the fourth book, is
Oh,
Carter
okay.
and this
This timberwolf.
mysterious Timberwolf that I'm
Okay.
gonna spoil during this conversation.
Okay.
So anyway, and then Rico, one of the Garage Gang.
Which is...
The Garage Gang are the three, Chris, Tanner, and Rico.
Are
And
humans, right?
They're they
Like-
were humans.
Okay.
And they were basically comedy relief.
Yes.
For this series of books.
And by garage, we mean mechanics garage.
Yes, sorry,
Because
mechanics.
Gordo is a mechanic. Is that your food?
That's my food! So the Garage Gang, dinner interlude, they work with Gordo at Gordo's garage, and they sort of not quite raised Ox, but
They're
like closest thing he has to
older brothers.
older brothers, yeah. It's a good way to put it. And
Ox is the point of view character from the first book.
yes.
Yes.
And at the end of the second book, he becomes an alpha as a human, which has
Right.
never been done before, and wigs Michelle out. Doesn't like that one bit. And then figures out, when they figure out how to deal with the Omegas, he basically becomes the alpha of the Omegas.
Ox does?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because of the way that the curse broke and he took over, and
Okay.
it has something to do with the big climax. But anyway, the third book, so, oh yeah, right, the whole reason this all came up. So Osmond was Michelle's second, and Osmond was in cahoots with Richard Collins, who's the guy who kidnapped and tortured Joe for 8 weeks. So, big betrayal,
Yeah.
Robbie...
Does Michelle know that? That Osmond is a bad dude?
She claims that she had no idea.
Okay.
And
How
there's
much
enough
do we-
plausible deniability there that you could believe it either way.
Okay.
Again, like, for a while you think that she just really thinks she's in the right. Because, I mean, the Bennett's pieced out, and she's like, well, I'm here in charge,
Yep.
and I'm taking care of things. Where are you guys? Kind of deal.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like, you do you, Michelle. And then turns out that she was anyway.
Okay.
So Robbie is the wolf who took over for Osmond.
Okay.
So he shows up in the first book, and it's like, hey, I'm the new Osmond, which is not the great way to introduce yourself
I sort of remember that.
to
Okay.
a pack that, like, just got betrayed by Osmond. And they were like, you could have phrased that better. And he was like, I realized that, my bad. And he's grows temporary attachments to packs. He hasn't grown a permanent attachment to a pack since his mom died. Everyone, they have a Disney problem in these books. And basically, there's something really special about the Bennett pack, and he basically falls in love with them. And is like, I'm actually going to become a part of this pack.
Okay, thanks.
I'm not going to spy for Michelle anymore.
Okay.
Bye! And that's kind of his deal. He doesn't have a whole lot of screen time for
The
the first
book.
2 books.
Oh, okay.
He's just kind of there. He's following Kelly around. Kelly's his boy.
Kelly's a boy.
Kelly
He's
is
one of the
another
brothers.
Bennett. Yes.
Okay.
He's the middle boy.
Okay.
So the third book, the synopsis makes it sound like you're going to get Robbie's point of view from... Basically, get a brief overview of his life before he met the Bennetts.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, and then he gets an assignment that will change everything, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh yeah, so that's like when he goes to join the Bennett pack, and then you'll get like him getting together with Kelly and blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
It turns out
Oh dear.
that actually there's memory nonsense going on.
Really?
And
Does it relate back to the murder dad?
Mhm.
Okay.
of course it relates back.
Well, I mean-
Everything relates back to the murder dad. So the book starts with him having weird dreams,
Okay.
and he wakes up and is sharing a cabin with this old man, Ezra, and they like take care. Who's a witch?
Okay.
The witch of Michelle, like the witch who belongs to Michelle Hughes' pack.
Okay.
And they kind of take care of each other. Like, Ezra brought him in to Michelle's pack and
Mhm.
gave him a job and a place and a purpose. But he's getting old and frail, so Robbie kind of, like, you know, helps him out around the house and all that stuff. So they have this, like, what looks like a very sweet relationship.
What looks like. Oh boy.
Oh, I'm getting there.
Oh boy.
And then Michelle's like, oh yes, Robbie my second, I am sending you on a mission. And they go to this town, and Ezra comes with him. And they're supposed, because they haven't heard from this pack in a while, so they need to get the pack to check in.
Okay.
And that's when you start getting kind of hints of like this totalitarian thing Michelle's grown into. Like, I need all of my ducks in a row, and you all need to be following the rules, and I need check-ins regularly. So they go to find out, and Robbie's like, oh, we're just gonna make sure they're okay. That's all it is. And then like, as he talks to other people, it becomes clear that Robbie's being very naive about the whole situation, and like, you know, he's a precious boy. Anyway, and they react very weirdly to him.
Who?
Robbie. Like, the family they find this family that hasn't been checking in.
Right.
And the family is like weird and shifty, not very clear about like why. And Ezra's like, I'll talk to the alpha and we'll work things out. And the alpha, Shannon, is like, okay, whatever. And they work out whatever, but one of the betas pulls Robbie aside and is like, you're gonna meet me tonight so I can show you something.
Oh, that's not sketch.
Shows him an Omega kid they have in their barn who's been infected. And is like, but you'll keep this a secret. And Robbie's like, will I? And he was like, won't you? And Robbie's like, I mean, yeah, I will, but why are you telling me this? And he keeps it a secret because it's a kid.
Right, but like, why did the beta tell Robbie anything?
It turns out, like, they've all heard of him, of Robbie. And the reason they've all heard it, so I thought this whole time that this is all pre-Robbie joining the Bennett pack. It's not.
Oh dear. And
as it goes on, and then at one point, and Shannon slips him a note on his way out, and is like, here's a number to call when you're ready. And then a few chapters later, it becomes clear that he doesn't remember this interaction at all. He doesn't remember going to this town. He doesn't remember meeting these people, and he finds this note, and he's like, I don't remember. He put it in a safe spot.
Right.
And he's going through his safe spot of things, and he's like, who sent me this note? And I was like, someone's
oh my god.
And then I was like, oh no, this is after he joined the Bennett pack. They've like kidnapped him and brought him back, and they've messed with his mind so that he can be like,
oh my god.
I know.
That's messed up. That's a really good way to reveal it, though. Oh my god, no wonder you're freaking out about these books.
And then it turns out that Ezra has this like phrase for basically resetting his memory. And
that's why he's been living with a witch. Oh my god.
And he says the catchphrase at one point, and Robbie shakes it off and is like, no. And Ezra's like,
oh shit.
No? And then you're like, oh, you're evil. You're evil. That's what's going on. And then Robbie managed to get a call out to Shannon.
Okay.
Found some shady books on the bookshelf and took them with him.
Right. Like grimoire shady or like...
No, like old diaries of Thomas's that belonged to like Elizabeth.
Of dead Thomas.
Mm-hmm,
oh
of dead
dear.
Thomas. And he's like, keeps having these flashes of things don't feel familiar enough to be triggering memories, but he's like, they're not telling me something.
Yeah.
And like the fact that like I'm ending up with things that like I have gaps in my memory. He's missing days. He realizes he's missing days. Some kid in the compound comes up to him and is like, why are you so much sadder than you were before? And he was like, before what?
I've never met you.
And the kid was like, when you were here, they said that you were here a few years ago and then disappeared for a year and then came back and you were all sad. And he was like, I've only been here for a year. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, no.
And then, so that's when you're like... And so he starts being like, there are gaps in my memory, something shady is going on, but they wouldn't lie to me, like, they mean well, and like, I don't... But he feels like he's going nuts.
I bet.
And he gets a call through to Shannon, and she's like, don't tell them you called.
Right.
Because they'll reset your memory, basically. Make it to this town... And that's when Ezra tries to reset the memory thing, and he's like, no, I'm gonna go, actually. I just need to get out of town for a few days. And Ezra, like, lets him go, but is obviously following him.
Obviously.
Makes it to this town, makes it to Shannon, who tries to, like, explain enough to get him to get on board, but is also, like, basically trying to trap him. Because has no memory of anyone. So then the Bennett pack shows up, and is like, we found you... we're not letting you get away again. And Michelle and Ezra have been telling him that the Benepack is evil.
Oh, of course they have.
And
okay.
they're traitors and blah, blah, blah. So he's like, no, you're all traitors, and keeps trying to escape and keeps trying to beat them up. And then they're like, no, Robbie, you're ours, and we're gonna figure this out. We'll save you. And then Ezra shows up and ditches his old man disguise, and of course it's Robert Livingston.
Oh shit!
Which Michelle definitely did know about now. Now we're at Michelle knows and is at least complicit or is also getting her mind messed. So this is where the extent of her evilness is a little in question.
Okay.
Because once he's out and messing with people's memories,
then who knows?
Yeah.
So
that's how that all goes down. And then he takes away Kelly's ability, basically turns Kelly into a human during this confrontation.
Oh shit.
They manage to drag Robbie back to Green Creek, and for a while
the Bennetts?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
And then it's that whole progression of, like, basically relearning this relationship that he had with all of them. And, like, doesn't get his memory back until the very end of the book. Shit. So the arc was very interesting. And I love me a good
amnesia fic.
So good. It's candy to my brain.
Yep.
So...
But you have to go through the Gordo book to get there.
Yes, that's the
catch.
Unfortunate thing.
Yeah. Could you skip the Gordo book?
Well, that's the problem, is a lot of the stuff that happens during the climax is actually important plot-wise, but they do pretty much they do rough summaries in each book of everything that happened in the last. So, like, if you don't mind being a little like, what?
Okay.
About...
various...
Yes.
Okay.
But also, I mean, it'd be easier for me to skip Ravensong now because I know what happens.
Right.
But it would have helped to know going in. Like, I think I'd be okay rereading it now because I know how frustrating and stupid they are and how I'm not going to get the emotional resolution I want out of them.
Right.
And I could, like, flip through enough to get an idea of the plot and skip all their emotional
all the
crap.
stuff.
And then at the end of... They basically are, like, obviously, like, finally have had enough of Michelle. So they come to go basically burn Caswell down and basically take back the ownership of the Alpha. So there's this huge confrontation with Michelle. Robert Livingstone basically turns the children into feral weapons.
Robert Livingstone is Murder Dad, right?
Yeah, Murder Dad. Murder Dad turns all the children in the compound into because they can't hurt the children. So he basically sicks these feral children on them.
Oh my god!
So they're trying to, like, keep them at arm's length and, like, trying to murder all the evil adults.
Oh my god!
And, like, flinging them into the lake, and then they come back out, and fling them into the lake again.
Like gremlins or something.
And then Michelle kills Murder Dad.
Oh, good.
And then is trying to spin, like, I killed him, I saved all of you, he was messing with my head. And that's why you're like... I don't know where she falls on this. And then it becomes irrelevant because Robert Livingston... So she kills him by biting him. And supposedly witch magic cannot mix with werewolf magic and it kills you.
Unless you're Murder Dad.
Unless you're Murder Dad.
Okay.
And we don't know why. And this is actually in one of the shady books that Robbie saw in Michelle's office.
Oh, the diaries.
Yes.
Okay.
And it fell behind the bookcase. And it's driving me nuts that I'm the only one. I know his memory was getting messed with and it's not his fault. But why am I the only one who remembers that he dropped that book behind the bookshelf? And it had a picture of what Murder Dad becomes, basically.
Oh, no!
Because he resurrects and then kills Michelle, like, immediately.
Of course.
And then is basically, like, unfightable. Becomes super duper powerful.
Oh, no.
No one can touch him.
Oh, no.
And then he's like, I will murder you all until you give me what I want. And they're like, what do you want, dude? We don't have anything of yours. And he's like, I want my son. And Gordo's like, no, hate you. Bye. And he's like, not you. I know that. My other son.
Dun, dun, dun!
And then Gavin is hurting Carter, and then Gavin is the timber wolf.
Gavin's the wolf who was stuck as a wolf. Okay.
And then Carter was getting hurt, and Gavin breaks out of his wolf and is like, I'll come with you, leave him alone.
Aww.
And everyone's like, Gordo's brother? What? And Carter's like, I might be bisexual. In the middle.
That's funny.
Truly, like, Carter. And it's like the whole third book, everyone's watching the two of them interact.
Uh-huh.
And everyone on the side is like, when is he gonna figure this out? And
While
everyone's
they're
like,
human?
Yeah. No, like, while they're all being happy in Green Creek.
Okay.
And the Timberwolves following Carter around. Carter's like, stop following me everywhere. But they're
And
always
everyone
like
else is
snuggling
like-
stuff. Everyone's like...
Clearly this is going somewhere. Okay.
And then at one point, Robbie's like, oh, the Timberwolf is about to, like, spill the whole thing. Like, Timberwolf's his mate. And, like, someone, like, talks over him. He's like, is a very special friend of Carter's. Yup. He's a very special friend, and that's all he is. And Robbie's like, why are we not? And everyone's like, we want him to figure it out on his own. And then poor Carter has this revelation in the middle.
That's hysterical. Oh my god.
So that happens. And then Gavin's like, actually, and tries to BS his way. He's like, I'm not part of this pack. I don't want to be part of you. Carter, you're a child. Like, I want nothing to do with you guys. I'm going to go with Dad over here. Everyone's like, you're full of crap. But also, we can't fight right now. So they take off. Carter's is having this breakdown.
Right.
And now he's like devastated because he just figured it out.
Right.
And then he cut off all the bonds.
Mm-hmm.
And then...
Which is like the same that Gordo did to Mark in book 2, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the third one ends with Carter leaving this video note behind where he's basically... So Carter's tether is Kelly, the brother.
Okay. His brother.
Yeah, his little brother. Because when Kelly was born, he was 3, and his parents did this whole, like, you gotta take care of your little brother. And he immediately fell in love with his little brother.
Right.
And, like, everything together.
So Kelly keeps Carter sane and human.
And vice versa.
Oh no!
And Carter's like, and they're all like, we're gonna, like, we all know Gavin's full of crap. We're gonna find him. And we're gonna figure this out. We're gonna find Livingstone. We're gonna find Gavin. We'll save him. It'll be fine. And Carter
Makes a bad choice.
is like, surely if I go off on my own and cut off all my bond packs,
that'll help.
which has gone really great in the past for everyone else in this pack who's decided to cut off their bonds and just go off on their own to figure out shit with a big bad evil dude.
Oh my god.
So I'm gonna leave a video diary for my little brother, who's my tether and I am his tether, and say, I'm really sorry, but you know how it is.
Oh my
You went through this with
God.
Robbie. I hope you forgive me. Bye. And it was, like, really heart-wrenching, but also I'm like, Carter, you're a moron. But on the other hand, that's very consistent with Carter's character,
Okay.
who is, in fact,
Sort
a
of
moron.
a moron? Okay.
But, like, I don't know what thinks he's gonna accomplish on his own.
I feel
that the
like
pack
didn't that
can't.
exact same thing happen in
Yeah.
book 1?
Fully.
The only one I've read.
The only difference is in
But-
the book 1, 4 of them go off. It's
Yeah.
Gordo and all 3 brothers.
Right.
This time Carter's like, hey, I've done this once.
It turned out super
It turned out great. What if I did it again, but this time by myself?
Oh my
And that's how the third one ends. And now we're from Carter's point of view, which is the first time we're actually from a Bennett's point of view instead of their
Their
significant
love
other.
interest,
Yeah.
yeah.
Which, I mean, how could you be from Gavin's point of view, I
Yeah,
guess,
at
right
this point,
now?
it would be really hard.
Yeah. So he's, like, all by himself, trying to find Gavin, and Gavin's leaving him notes. I'm not sure how.
Oh.
But Gavin, there's, like, notes like, stop following me, asshole.
Oh my god.
I don't want you to follow me. Good times. Good times were had by all. Anyway, the third book was great, and I loved it.
I couldn't tell.
That was way more Green Creek than anyone deserves to hear.
Until next time,
Here's hoping you have a really good audience
a
when you
really
go
good
off
friend
about your favorite books.
Go off.
This has been another episode of Infinite TBR. You can find us on our Twitter at Infinite TBR.
And we are individually on Twitter as @WhatSmackSaid and @Gabalodon, which is like Megalodon, but Gab in the front of it. And you can find all our show notes at infiniteTBR.com. If you have book recommendations for us or questions you want answered during the podcast, feel free to email us at itbrshelf@gmail.com.